The chow line snaked across the yard, boots grinding into the sun-baked dirt of Camp Ironwood. The midday heat shimmered in the air, turning tempers short and jokes sharper than they had any right to be. Specialist Mara Jensen stood near the middle of the line, sleeves rolled above her wrist. That was all it took. The ink on her forearm caught the light. A coiled serpent wrapped around a sword, dark and clean against her skin. Behind her, a pair of infantry soldiers noticed, and one snorted just loud enough for everyone to hear. "Nice tattoo," he said, mockery in his voice. "What's that supposed to be? The mascot for admin clerks?" Laughter rippled through the line. Mara didn't turn, didn't flinch. She kept her tray balanced in her hands, eyes locked forward. Silence was her only answer. They thought they knew who she was. They didn't. Mara Jensen was 30 years old, a quiet presence in the logistics corps. Her world was manifests, shipping crates and inventory sheets, not firefights and field maneuvers. She was the one making sure others had ammunition, fuel, and rations when it mattered most. Her boots were always polished, her uniform squared away, her reports on time. She never missed a deadline, never left a crate uncounted. She was the one they called when something critical had gone missing, and somehow she always found it. But none of that mattered to the ones who mocked her. To them, she wasn't a real soldier. She didn't have combat patches. She didn't have the dust of firefights on her face. She was just another supply clerk with a strange tattoo and a quiet way of moving through the world. The first time they made fun of her during a formation, Mara told herself it didn't matter. The sergeant had grabbed her arm, held it up for everyone to see, and cracked a joke about her ink being cute. Laughter rippled through the ranks like a wave. Mara kept her chin level, her gaze fixed straight ahead. She didn't pull away. When the sergeant dropped her wrist, the damage was already done. From that day forward, she was fair game. It followed her everywhere: the motor pool, the chow hall, the barracks. One hot afternoon, she passed by two soldiers leaning against a Humvee. "Bet you 20 she can't even change a tire," one of them muttered. The other chuckled, loud enough for her to hear. Mara kept walking. She didn't fire back, didn't even look at them. But in the side mirror of the Humvee, her reflection showed her jaw tighten before she forced it still again. At dinner one night, someone accidentally bumped her tray. It hit the floor, clattering loudly, food splattering across the tiles. Sarcastic clapping filled the hall. Someone shouted that maybe the enemy would surrender just from seeing her coordination. Mara crouched down, cleaning the mess piece by piece with steady hands. She refused help. She refused pity. She took another tray, sat at the far corner of the room, and ate alone. That became her routine. Alone at meals, alone in the supply office late into the night, hunched over paperwork no one ever asked about. And then one day, everything began to change. A convoy rolled into Camp Ironwood, kicking up dust clouds as it stopped. It wasn't just any unit. It was a Navy SEAL detachment, rotating through for a joint operation. They stepped off their vehicles, their movements sharp, their expressions unreadable. They noticed everything. When they saw Mara being mocked near the edge of the yard, they didn't laugh. They just watched. Something about her tattoo, about the way she didn't defend herself, about the way she held herself. It made them pause. From that moment on, Mara wasn't just invisible anymore. Someone was watching her, and not with mockery, with curiosity. The cracks in her silence started showing in small ways. One evening, someone passing by her bunk saw the inside of her locker before she closed it. There was only one photo taped inside: a group of dusty, grinning soldiers in a desert somewhere far away. The faces were blurred, either by sand or by design, but one detail stood out: a patch on one soldier's sleeve, unmistakably from a special operations group. Another time, under the floodlights of the yard, someone noticed that the serpent-and-sword tattoo wasn't just a symbol. Tiny coordinates were etched into the design, nearly invisible unless you looked closely. And in the warehouse one afternoon, when a shipment of rifles arrived, Mara listed their specs and serial ranges from memory before the crates were even opened. No one could explain how she knew, and she offered no explanation. Then came the inspection. A lieutenant walked into the motor pool, unannounced, scanning the room. His eyes landed on Mara. "You," he said. "Step forward." She obeyed, boots echoing against the concrete. The lieutenant grabbed an M4 carbine from a rack and held it out. "Let's see if you can actually handle what you issue." Everyone stilled. This wasn't her job, but Mara accepted the weapon without a word. Then she reached into her pocket and tied a strip of cloth over her eyes. No one breathed as she stripped the rifle blindfolded, every piece laid out in perfect order. No wasted motion, no hesitation. When she reassembled it, the final click of the bolt locked home like a gunshot. She removed the blindfold, handed the weapon back, and quietly returned to her post. She didn't smile, she didn't gloat. She just picked up her clipboard. Whispers spread like wildfire after that. And then, one morning, the shift came. The SEAL detachment lined up in the yard. Their commander, a man with decades of service written on his face, at the front. Mara was nearby, checking tail numbers. He saw the tattoo. He froze mid-step. Slowly, he approached her. Mara's fingers tightened around her clipboard, but she didn't move. The commander straightened, raised his hand, and gave her a crisp, flawless salute. Everything stopped. Conversations, footsteps, even the wind seemed to hold its breath. "You're still with us, Jensen?" he asked quietly. She nodded once, and with that, the truth surfaced. Years ago, Mara Jensen had been embedded with special operations as an intelligence officer. The coordinates in her tattoo marked the site of a mission so classified it barely existed on record. She had cracked the code that saved the team from an ambush that would have killed them all. The SEAL commander turned to the watching soldiers. "You think she's just a clerk?" he asked. "She's the reason I'm standing here. She's the reason any of my men walked out of that valley alive." No one laughed. No one spoke. One by one, the SEAL behind him saluted. Then the officers. Then the enlisted men who had once mocked her. Mara returned the salute with quiet dignity, and for the first time, every mocking voice was silent. From that day forward, no one joked about her tattoo. No one brushed past her in the chow hall. Respect didn't have to be demanded anymore. It was given freely. Mara never told the full story. She never needed to. Sometimes the strongest warriors are the ones who fight their battles in silence, carrying scars and secrets the world may never fully know.